I want you to try something with me. Close your eyes for a moment. Now, can you picture a red apple? I mean, really picture it. See the curve of its shape, the way light catches its shiny, red skin. Maybe you can even see the little brown stem at the top. Hold that image in your mind. For many of us, this is a simple, automatic task. But what if I told you that for a significant part of the population, the screen inside their head is completely blank? When they close their eyes and try to see an apple, they see nothing. Just darkness, an absence of imagery. This isn't a failure of imagination. It's a fundamental difference in how their mind works. Welcome to the fascinating world of aphantasia, a term coined as recently as 2015 by Professor Adam Zeman, a cognitive neurologist at the University of Exeter. He gave a name to a phenomenon that had existed in silence for centuries. Aphantasia literally means the absence of fantasy. It describes the inability to voluntarily create mental images. It's often called having a blind mind's eye. The story of its modern discovery is almost accidental. A man, known in scientific literature as Max, lost his ability to visualize after a minor heart procedure. He could no longer picture his family or the places he'd been. Intrigued, Professor Zeman studied him. After an article about the case was published, something remarkable happened. 14 people reached out, all saying the same thing: "I've been like this my whole life. I thought everyone was." But the first person to stumble upon this was actually Sir Francis Galton, back in the 1880s. He conducted a famous study called the Breakfast Table Questionnaire. He asked his colleagues and friends to describe the vividness of their mental image of their breakfast table that morning. To his utter shock, many of his fellow scientists reported seeing nothing at all. They knew what was on the table, but they couldn't see it in their minds. Galton was so surprised by the results, he initially thought they had misunderstood the question. The discovery was largely forgotten for over a century. It existed as a footnote in psychology, a strange anomaly, until Professor Zeman gave it a name, and a community began to form around it. But this mind blindness isn't always just about images. Think about the last song you heard. Can you replay the melody in your head? The singer's voice? What about the smell of freshly cut grass? Or baking bread? The taste of lemon, sharp and sour on your tongue? The feeling of cool water on your skin? For some, aphantasia extends to all senses. This is sometimes called total aphantasia, an inability to recreate any sensory experience in the mind. The inner world is not just blind, it's silent, senseless, and without taste or touch. So how does this actually affect a person's life? Let's start with memory. Most people rely heavily on what's called episodic memory. When you remember a past birthday, you might see flashes of it. The candles on the cake, the faces of your friends singing. You re-experience the event through a mental slideshow. Someone with aphantasia often relies more on semantic memory. They remember the facts of the birthday. They know who was there. They know they had a chocolate cake. They know what presents they received. It's like the difference between watching a movie of your past and reading a detailed report about it. The information is all there, but the method of retrieval is entirely different. They don't relive it, they re-know it. This changes the experience of things we take for granted. Reading a book with lush, descriptive passages about a fantasy world, for example, a non-aphantasia reader might build that world inside their head. An aphantasia reader appreciates the beautiful language and the concepts. They understand the author is describing a castle with towering spires, but they don't see the castle. They process it as information. One of the most poignant aspects is often related to loved ones. Many with aphantasia report that they cannot picture the face of their partner, their children, or even a relative who has passed away. This can be emotionally challenging. They know what their loved ones look like and can recognize them instantly from a photograph. But they can't summon that face from memory alone. They rely on photos, videos, and the feeling of love, which is stored differently than a visual. What about looking forward, planning for the future? When someone says visualize your goals, it's meant literally. People picture themselves crossing a finish line or receiving a diploma. For an aphantasia individual, goal setting might be more conceptual. It's a list of steps, a plan of action, a logical progression. The motivation comes from the concept of achievement, not a mental preview of it. And what about dreams? This is a common question. If the mind's eye is blind during the day, is it also blind at night? Surprisingly, for most, the answer is no. Many people with aphantasia report having vivid, visual dreams. This is because voluntary visualization and involuntary dreaming use different neural pathways. Dreaming is a passive process. The brain is showing you things. You aren't trying to create them. This leads us to the neurological underpinnings. What is actually happening inside the brain? Scientists are still mapping this fascinating territory. Research suggests it's not a problem with a single brain region. It's more about the network, the communication between regions. The prefrontal cortex, which handles intention and control, needs to talk to the visual cortex at the back of the brain, which processes images. In aphantasia, that connection seems to be different. The visual cortex works perfectly fine. They can see the world. The prefrontal cortex works fine. They can have intentions. But the handshake between the two, the signal to create an image now, is weaker or absent. Now, let's travel to the other end of the spectrum. If some people have a blind mind's eye, others have one that is almost cinematic. This is called hyperphantasia. People with hyperphantasia experience mental imagery that is as vivid and detailed as actual sight. When they picture that red apple, it's photorealistic. They can mentally rotate it, zoom in on it, even imagine taking a bite and tasting the juice. Their inner world is a high-definition movie screen. This can be an incredible asset for artists, architects, and inventors. They can build and manipulate complex creations entirely in their minds before ever putting pen to paper. The inventor Nikola Tesla was thought to have extreme hyperphantasia. He claimed he could design, build, and test his inventions entirely in his imagination. He would run a machine in his head for weeks, checking for wear and tear, before building a physical prototype. It highlights the incredible diversity of human consciousness. From a screen that is off, to a screen that is standard definition, all the way to a fully immersive, 4K virtual reality experience. And all of these are considered normal variations of the human mind. This brings us to a crucial point. Aphantasia is not a disorder. It's not a deficit. It is a different cognitive style, with its own unique set of strengths. Think about it. If you aren't distracted by mental imagery, what does your brain spend its resources on? Many with aphantasia find they excel in abstract thinking. Mathematics, computer programming, and philosophy come more naturally. Their thinking is less sensory and more conceptual. They navigate systems of logic and facts with incredible ease. They are less likely to be swayed by a misleading mental image and more likely to stick to the data. In fact, you've probably heard of people with aphantasia and not even known it. Ed Campton, the co-founder of Pixar Animation Studios, has aphantasia. Let that sink in. A man who co-founded one of the world's most visually imaginative companies cannot visualize images in his mind. He has said he can't picture a sphere, but he built a company of artists and gave them the tools to create stunning visual worlds. He says his role was always about the underlying systems, the concepts of storytelling, and the technology. Blake Ross, the co-creator of the Firefox web browser, also has aphantasia. He describes his thought process as being based on an internal monologue, not images. He created a tool used by billions to navigate a visual medium, all without a mind's eye. These examples show us that success and creativity are not tied to one way of thinking. Imagination is not just about seeing things. It's about connecting ideas, solving problems, and building something new. This whole exploration raises profound questions, doesn't it? What does it truly mean to imagine? What does it mean to remember? We walk through the world assuming that the person next to us experiences it in the same way. We assume that when we say imagine a beach, they see the sand and the waves just like we do. Aphantasia shatters that assumption. It reminds us that our internal experience is deeply personal and invisible. There is a vast, hidden tapestry of human neurodiversity, and we've only just begun to map its patterns. Understanding aphantasia is more than a neurological curiosity. It's an invitation to practice a deeper form of empathy. It's a call to stop assuming and start asking. To be curious about the inner worlds of others. To appreciate that someone can remember a shared moment with just as much love and detail as you. even if they can't see it. They just hold it differently. So, the next time you close your eyes and see that red apple, or maybe see nothing at all, take a moment to appreciate the unique and incredible architecture of your own mind. And remember that just beyond your own experience, there's a universe of different ways to think, to feel, and to be. And that, in itself, is a beautiful thing to imagine.